Chapter 831, What's going on? Director. He swallowed and didn't dare to say anything. But when he saw that Zhang Han didn't look at him at all, he involuntarily began to rack his brains and hurriedly said, "Sorry, I'm not in charge of this matter. I have some other things to attend to, so I'll excuse myself." After saying that while feeling on tenterhooks, Director, he glanced at Zhang Han's face from the corner of his eyes. Seeing that there was no response, he turned around and strode away without looking back. He quickly got into a car. After driving for a few miles, he finally let out a long breath of relief and patted his chest. Oh my God, with Zhang Han taking control of the situation, wouldn't the Xie family be smashing their heads against an iron plate? Fortunately, I didn't say anything I shouldn't, otherwise, if Zhang Han got angry, who could afford the consequences? He is the young lord of the Heavenly Knights sect, and even immortal King Chen takes orders from him. He is too scary. Director. He was still in a state of shock. He didn't dare to imagine what would happen over there. He imagined that the Xie clan was getting more and more overbearing, and so Zhang Han couldn't help but rebuke them. Then, the Xie family didn't listen because they didn't know him, and Zhang Han killed them all in anger. Or perhaps someone in the Xie clan recognized him and was terrified. Then they hurried to apologize, pay the compensation, and beg Zhang Han to spare their lives. Was there a third way out? Probably number. That was what Director he believed. But there would always be some differences between reality and imagination. Zhang Han sat at the back and waited quietly without saying a word. On the contrary, the words Director he said and his looks caused Patriarch Xie and the Xie clan to dart more glances toward Jiang Tongtong and his men. There seemed to be something unusual in his look. Patriarch Xie had a keen sense and noticed something odd. He looked at those men several times and finally fixed his eyes on Zhang Han. He was the one Director he cast a glance at just now. Because he was the only one present with a calm face. Patriarch Jiang, a group of high-ups of the Jiang clan, as well as Jiang Tongtong, Fu Hongshan, and Chen Man all looked somewhat tense or uneasy. Some of them even looked very angry. Only that man's face was as calm as the surface of the water. It was a little weird. Just as Patriarch Xie was deep in thought, another group of people came in from the door. There were more than a dozen people coming in this time. Patriarch Hu. Patriarch Jiang quickly stood up to welcome him. This was his last trump card. He had paid a heavy price to invite the top-class Hu family in Ice City. There was also a sect disciple in their family. Sadly, things went contrary to his wishes. Patriarch Jiang thought that there was still a chance. However, Patriarch Hu immediately remarked, "Patriarch Xie, I'm Hu Dongfeng. My son, Hu Han, is also a disciple of the sect in the mystical martial world. He's been studying in the Constellation sect. I wonder if Patriarch Xie can spare the Jiang clan for my sake?" Patriarch Xie frowned and looked at the young man on his left. The Constellation sect? Patriarch Xie didn't know which force it belonged to. It's just a small sect. The young man in his 20s chuckled and said, "In front of the Xuanhuan sect, they are nothing but bumpkins that are worth mentioning." You, that disciple of the Constellation sect, turned furious. Eh? The man in the God Realm glared at him, and the aura of God Realm peak stage rushed out. The disciple of the Constellation sect was so overwhelmed that he couldn't breathe. In the end, he didn't say anything. The corner of Patriarch Hu's mouth twitched. He knew that his requirement would probably not be met today. Just forget it. I can't tell the Jiang clan what to do. I'd better not offend the disciples of Xuanhuan sect. Patriarch Xie, I'm sorry. No problem. Patriarch Xie nodded and smiled, as if he was talking to an old friend. Patriarch Hu has come here to back up your friend. I understand that. Xian was a little rude before. Patriarch Hu, please forgive us. It's nothing, don't worry. Patriarch Hu shook his head repeatedly. Since Patriarch Xie's issue has been settled, there is no need to use my help then. After saying that, Patriarch Hu cast a meaningful look at Patriarch Jiang to show his helplessness, and then left with his men. As soon as he walked out of the door, he couldn't help murmuring, "Jiang clan has offended someone they shouldn't have offended." His words made the faces of several disciples of the Jiang clan standing outside turn pale. Was there really no other way? Even Patriarch Jiang's face was drained of blood. He had lost all of his trump cards now. "We Jiangs." He suddenly felt dizzy as if he was short of oxygen. "Patriarch Jiang, will you sign this contract or not? If you don't sign it, we'll take our leave now," Patriarch Xia said beamingly. His expressions indicated that they had backed the Jiang clan to a corner. He was always confident because he had Xuanhuan, who had not opened his eyes through the whole thing. The man looked proud and superior, as though the whole world was under her feet. As long as he was there, Patriarch Xia was not afraid. So, even if the enemy was the Ice City, so what? Even the director didn't dare to mention the matter. How dare the Jiang family went there to ask for compensation? That was ridiculous. In the face of Patriarch Xia's gaze, Patriarch Jiang's hands trembled. He then said, "I'll sign it, I'll sign it." He seemed to be 10 years older in the blind of an eye. Jiang Tongdong and Fu Hongshan both looked at Zhang Han anxiously. Why haven't those that brother Han sent for come yet? Although Zhang Han had the patience to wait, it didn't mean that they had, too. "Wait a minute," Fu Hongshan called out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Several heads turned to look at them. In particular, Xuanhuan seemed to have inadvertently revealed a murderous aura. It was a little scary. "You." Patriarch Jiang sighed, ready to get up to sign the papers. "There's no rush." It was not until this moment that Zhang Han made a remark, and his tone was quite flat. Hearing Zhang Han's words, many people looked away from Fu Hongshan and then turned to Zhang Han. That youth in the God Realm frowned, feeling a little irritated. A wave of pressure was ready to rise as if he was going to take action. But at this time, Patriarch Xia suddenly smiled. "Right, there is no rush to settle this matter, Patriarch Jiang, you can sleep on this, just let me know when you make up your mind." What a smiling tiger! The meaning of his words was very clear. They were not in a hurry to deal with this matter at all. It didn't matter if the Jiang clan was in a hurry, but they had to go now. If the contract was not signed, well, the 30 million would be off the table for the Jiang clan. Patriarch Jiang's heart was wretched when he heard that. Should I sign it or not? It seemed that Jiang clan's bankruptcy was a foregone conclusion. "I'll take my leave." The smile on Patriarch Xia's face was even broader. Just as he was about to leave with his men, Zhang Han frowned slightly and ordered, "Sit down." His order was obeyed as if it was law. When Zhang Han's words were out, the next moment, those people all sat down as if they could not help it and their bodies were no longer controlled by themselves. What? The countenance of the young man in the God realm changed greatly, and his face turned pale with horror. Who are you?" His eyes were fixed on Zhang Han. "In a few minutes, Jiang Yanlan will come here, let's wait for her to deal with this matter." Zhang Han responded blandly. However, these words made people's hearts skip a beat, and the face of that young man in the God realm gradually darkened. As the daughter of the head of the sect, Jiang Yanlan was the apple of the sect members' eyes. In the secular world, she was the captain of 1 million bird detachment of the National Security Agency. If she knew this matter, the Xia family would probably have to give the full compensation. The Patriarch Xia couldn't keep his smiling face anymore. His smile gradually froze, although he couldn't move his body. His eyes could still move. When he saw that his man in the God realm also couldn't move under the pressure, he felt a chill in his heart. Crap. He is a martial artist who is above the God realm. After thinking about it, he found that the Jiang clan who were wearing a confused look didn't seem to know who that person was. Who is he? Taking a deep breath, Patriarch Xia put on a smile again. "May I know who this young master is?" The Xia family admires masters of martial arts the most. If you want, we can again discuss this matter with Jiang clan. To get straight to the point, I want to give you face. But Zhang Han simply ignored him. For a smiling tiger like him, He must have many plots and schemes in his mind. Zhang Han would perhaps be on his guard if it were a cultivator in the natural realm, but Patriarch Xu alone was not worth his attention at all. If you say one more word, you will die, Zhang Han said calmly. He had no intention to punish the Xia clan himself, he just wanted to leave everything to Jiang Yanlan. However, Patriarch Xia kept stall the matter, so Zhang Han reckoned he might need to teach him a lesson. Buzz. That remark alone made Patriarch Xia's face alter drastically. His eyes were a little gloomy, but he didn't dare to say anything. So did the others. The young man in the god realm slowly closed his eyes. Waves of horror were surging inside him. As a martial artist on divine list, he now couldn't even move under the pressure pursued by another man. That explained a lot. But he wouldn't say anything, in case he angered the other party. Losing some money was nothing to him, but if he lost his life, that scene stunned the Jiang clan. What's going on? Patriarch Jiang looked baffled. He looked back and saw Zhang Han, who made that remark. All of a sudden, he had a revelation. That man had issued such pressure that none of his opponents dared to move. Is this an opportunity? Patriarch Jiang's face suddenly turned red with anxiety and excitement. He cupped his hands in front of his chest in a hurry. Just when he wanted to do the general greetings, Fu Hongshan hurriedly said, Patriarch Jiang, Brother Han is my friend. I specially asked him to help us. Although our Jiang clan can't compare with the Xia clan, we can't stand being bullied. Huh? Patriarch Jiang was slightly dazed. He didn't expect that man was this boy's friend. What's his name again? He is Jiang Tongdong's fiancé, surnamed Fu, isn't he? Patriarch Jiang hesitated. Jiang Tongdong quickly cottoned on and said, Patriarch Jiang, my fiancé, Hongshan, has been trying to come up with a solution for our family recently. Luckily, Brother Han came here to do some sightseeing, so Hongshan asked him to come over to help decide which side is right. Ha ha ha, good. The Xia clan was still here. But Patriarch Jiang already couldn't help laughing. There was a turning point now. Maybe the Jiang clan really had a chance. Hongshan, well done. May I know your name, sir? Patriarch Jiang hastily cupped his hands and asked, Zhang Han. Mr. Zhang, thank you. But before he could finish his words, a cry of surprise suddenly burst out. You are Zhang Han Yang. The young man in the god realm suddenly turned a little pale. Holy crap, it's Zhang Han Yang from Heavenly Knights sect. I can't afford to offend him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The whole suddenly fell into a dead silence, and the eyes of those of the Jiang clan also darted to that person. With fear in his eyes, he kept looking left and right. Only Zhang Han knew the underlying indication of his look. He was checking if Emperor King was also here or not. Is he afraid of Emperor King? Zhang Han found it funny. Yes. He was amused. He never thought that one day, he would use the fame of Chen King, his fella, to scare others. How could he not be afraid? Emperor King, the immortal King Chen, was ranked first on divine list. That man ranked 48th on the divine list. Compared with Emperor King, he was nothing. However, when the name Zhang Hanyang was said, the faces of the 6 martial artists of Jiang clan turned horror-struck. Oh my, can't believe he is Zhang Hanyang. My son-in-law has befriended Zhang Hanyang. Yes, as they said earlier, that guy has a friend who is on very good terms with the Gai clan. After pondering for a while, everyone found it all made sense. They all turned and stared at Fu Hongshan with somewhat envious looks. Chapter 832, The Rising of the Son-in-Law. Mr. Zhang is here. The Jiang clan is really honored and lucky to have your gracious presence. The oldest martial artist of Jiang clan immediately bowed and saluted. Patriarch Jiang and the others also stood up. Seeing that, Zhang Han was bored. He waved a bit at them and didn't say a word. By contrast, Jiang Tongdong's parents were so excited that their faces flushed. Ha ha ha. What a great son-in-law. Given his close relationship with Zhang Han, the Jiang clan would definitely benefit a lot in the future. Before they had time to savor the surprise, a group of people rushed in. There were 8 of them in total. Jiang Yanlan was in the lead. Her expression was sort of cold. "Boss." She hailed Zhang Han first, and then looked to the left with frosty eyes. "Xuanhuan, what's wrong with you?" "Ahem." As soon as she said that, a light cough came from beside. "Jiang Yanlan, your father, am still here. You didn't bother to greet your father first before getting to business, did you?" That was just harsh and vigorous. The cough made Jiang Yanlan stop talking. "Young Master Zhang, this is my father." Jiang Yanlan then took the initiative to introduce him. Sect leader Jiang. At this time, Zhang Han also stood up and dissipated the energy that had suppressed the Xia clan. Patriarch Xia's face turned slightly pallid, and Xuanhuan looked outright frightened. It seemed that they were in deep trouble. "Young Lord Zhang, I've long heard of your name. After meeting you in person today, I know you truly lives up to your reputation." Sect leader Jiang was at Heaven Peak stage, but he couldn't sense a trace of Zhang Han's aura, thus, he felt that it was a little unusual. He smiled and continued, "Young Lord Zhang, thank you for taking care of my daughter in Xiangjiang." Sect leader Jiang, "You don't have to be so courteous. Captain Jiang has helped me several times, and I will never forget that." Zhang Han smiled and responded, "Ha ha ha." Sect leader Jiang also laughed out loud and gave Jiang Yanlan an approving look. "Good for you, my daughter, you've befriended the young lord of Heavenly Knights sect. That's a strong connection." In the past, sect leader Jiang might not have found it amazing, but now, time had changed, and the Heavenly Knights sect had turned the tables against the will of heaven and seemed to rise again. "I've heard about this matter." Jiang Yanlan looked at Xuanhuan and said bluntly, "You shouldn't have implicated the secular world. The Xia clan must compensate the victims in full. Do you have any problems with that?" "Yes, I have." Xuanhuan was a little more confident when he saw that sect leader Xia and the other sect members had come here. He said, "I've done great service to the sect, and my mission has been related to the sect. Why would I have to compensate a secular family?" As soon as he said that, Jiang Yanlan's face darkened. "Have you forgotten that years ago, the Xia clan was also an ordinary family? This is not the same case." Xuanhuan shook his head stubbornly. "Oh?" Zhang Han looked at the people of Xuan sect in surprise. How dare they let a God Realm disciple of their sect refute that? Sect leader Jiang's eyes showed a bit of awkwardness. He thought for a moment and then said, "Considering that Xuanhuan has made contributions to the sect will pay half of the compensation this time." As soon as he said that, Patriarch Xia was slightly amazed, then he breathed a sigh of relief. However, Xuanhuan looked quite smug, and he even made another surprising remark. "Sect leader, Zhang Han of Heavenly Knights sect has just ridden roughshod over us without a reason. Please seek justice for us. You're Zhang Han Yang, so what? Xuanhuan, still won't let you run wild." It seemed that he had forgotten that he didn't dare to utter a word just now. "What did you say?" Sect leader Jiang was displeased and frowned slightly. "Xuanhuan, don't talk nonsense. You've made some contributions to our sect during the secular divine list competition. Go back and take your reward. Then, you should practice hard and try your best to break the Earth realm as soon as possible." He made his point first because he wanted to ease Zhang Han's anger. He had also heard that Zhang Han Yang had a rather bad temper. Also, as he didn't want Xuanhuan to babble again. His eyes were full of fierceness. Seeing that, Xuanhuan didn't dare to speak anymore. He cupped his hands and retreated to the side. A God Realm disciple had made a disrespectful remark, but his sect leader didn't say anything to criticize him, did he? For the sake of Captain Jiang, I'll spare his life. That kind of unfounded countercharge upset Zhang Han a little. After saying that, he looked at Fu Hongshan, who was behind him, and said, "If the Xia clan choose not to give me an answer on this matter, just let me know, and I will erase the Xia clan from this world forever." Whoosh! As soon as he said that, Patriarch Xia looked more uneasy. An outright threat. Xuanhuan's face was brimming with anger. Just as he was about to say something, he felt an overwhelming pressure. It was sect leader Jiang who was suppressing him. "It's getting late, I'm leaving." Zhang Han glanced at sect leader Jiang and turned to leave. "Yanlan, go see young Lord Jiang off," said sect leader Jiang. "Sure." Jiang Yanlan cast a cold look at Xuanhuan and then turned around and followed Zhang Han out. After they left the room, Jiang Yanlan said, "Don't mind him, Xuanhuan is a little special, otherwise, I would have already punished him on the spot." Zhang Han shook his head slightly and asked, "What's special about him?" He didn't see anything special about that kid. The only unusual thing was that there was a trace of the Blazing Eagle King's aura around him. Jiang Yanlan hesitated for a moment and then said slowly, "He's found a map, and it's in his possession. It's a map of a secret place in the ancient mine of the mystical martial world. Every time we go in, the location of the entrance changes. Therefore, we need Xuanhuan to lead the way every time. Originally, the secret place was a place where our Xuan sect often visited, but later, it was suddenly sealed for no reason. I suspect that Xuanhuan has found the treasure that controls the entrance and exit of the secret place and then sealed it. The bloodline power I absorbed was also found there. It seemed to be the Fire Phoenix graveyard. In short, without him, we can't enter that secret place. That is also why he dares to behave so unscrupulously." "Oh?" Zhang Han's expression altered. "He has been a thorn in my side for a long time, but there is nothing I can do. There is a small crystal stone mine in that secret place, and the mining hasn't finished yet. Our sect can only go down there one day a month, so the progress is relatively slow." Jiang Yanlan gave an abridged explanation. "Okay." Zhang Han nodded. Of course Jiang Yanlan wouldn't tell him all that she knew. There must be more than small crystal stone mines and other treasures in that secret place. For example, the Blazing Eagle King's soul power. Dong Chen could use it. His cultivation method, the 4 symbols C, complemented that set of divine weapon cards. By far, he had obtained the cards of the souls of the Flood Dragon, the Golden Black Tortoise, and the Winged Tiger King. If he could also get the soul of the Blazing Eagle King, he would have all the 4 symbols. Then, the cards would upgrade to the top tier of the 5th level, and maybe they would have the qualification to reach the 6th level in the future. Zhang Han's senses were never wrong. Although the Blazing Eagle King wasn't a top-level spirit beast, it was powerful enough to be one of that set of cards. Now that Zhang Han wanted to be an outstanding martial artist of the 3rd generation, he must enhance the strength of Heavenly Knight's sect. The Wind Snow School hadn't been obliterated yet, and he had no strength to do that for now. The energy hidden in his body was slowly being digested. Zhang Han expected that in 2 months, he could continue to absorb the energy in treasures to cultivate the Athanasian Demon Gong. The real power of the air-shattering hand would only reveal when he was at least at the elixir stage. Hence, he needed more supernatural powers. For that reason, Zhang Han was a little intrigued when he heard the news. After thinking for a while, he slowly said, "Captain Jiang, I'll get straight to the point. Just now, I felt the aura of the Blazing Eagle King on that Xuanhuan. I figure that secret place houses the soul of the Blazing Eagle King. Grand Elder of Heavenly Knight's sect happens to need this thing for his treasure. If it's not too much trouble, can you let Uncle Dong go down there with you to get the soul of the Blazing Eagle King? The Heavenly Knight's sect will give you treasures of equal value in exchange for it. What do you say?" This. Jiang Yanlan's face froze for a second. She was undecided about whether she should agree on that or not. "Don't worry, the secret land belongs to the Xuan sect. The Heavenly Knight's sect won't encroach. Besides, there must be a large number of secret places in that ancient mine, right?" Zhang Han added. That was true. The ancient mine was exceedingly vast and the treasures there were countless. However, to take those treasures, one must also have the required ability. Jiang Yanlan also knew this. Moreover, that secret land was not really that precious. "Well, since you've asked, of course I'll give you face." Jiang Yanlan covered her mouth and smiled. Her eyes suddenly lit up. In that case, why don't we? Jiang Yanlan leaned over and whispered something in Zhang Han's ear. After hearing what she said, Zhang Han was stunned. He looked at her with some amusement and eventually nodded. Okay. Has Liu come yet? Jiang Yanlan asked after they were done with the business. Yes. Then I'll go beat him in a moment. Jiang Yanlan's eyes suddenly turned a little resentful. He is now already at the Grandmaster late stage. If he continues to stay with you, I'm afraid it won't take long for him to reach the God realm. If I don't seize the chance to beat him now, when he becomes powerful, then... She broke off. Instructor Liu, on the other hand, had vowed several times that one day, he would beat Jiang Yanlan to a pulp. Ha ha. That remark made Zhang Han laugh instead. He shook his head slightly and looked somewhat emotionally at sect leader Jiang, who had just walked out of the room. Your daughter's heart is about to be stolen, how could you not notice that? As for sect leader Jiang, Zhang Han despised him. He had done too bad in this respect. When Meng Meng grew up, he would surely keep a close look on her. If he found any boys who had an idea to pursue Meng Meng, he would directly beat the SHT out of him. After a small nod, Zhang Han whipped around in a flash and stalked out. While in going out, he made 2 phone calls. Chengqing, come to meet me, I have something to tell you. Xiao, go back to the sect and contact Uncle Dong, ask him to come over here. Seeing Zhang Han leave, Xuanhuan curled his lips in contempt. Sect leader, although Zhang Han Yang is from the Heavenly Knights sect, you don't really have to give him face, do you? Xuanhuan sounded a little disgruntled. Watch your mouth. Sect leader Jiang frowned and his face darkened. Xuanhuan, you must bear this in mind. Improper language brings someone doom. If you continue to be so unscrupulous and stir up trouble, don't blame me for not protecting you. Whoosh. Xuanhuan's expression changed slightly. He quickly lowered his head and cupped his hands. Yes, I see. Although he was a little arrogant, he was no fool. It was true that he wasn't as afraid of the sect leader as the others in the sect. He was still very respectful in front of him. Otherwise, sect leader Jiang would have handled him a long time ago. I have somewhere else to be. Xuanhuan, you go back to the sect. Yanlan, are you going to Xiangjiang? Asked sect leader Jiang. I'm not going to Xiangjiang for now because Zhang Han Yang is still here. I'll go back with him later, Jiang Yanlan replied. Okay. Sect leader Jiang nodded and then departed with his men. Xuanhuan also cupped his hands at Jiang Yanlan and left alone. He was only an hour's walk from the entrance of the mystical martial world. Patriarch Xia, get this matter settled in 7 days. Jiang Yanlan left that remark and then left quickly. She quietly followed Xuanhuan, ready to watch a drama. As for Patriarch Jiang and his men who came out after that, no one paid much attention to them. It was not that they looked down on them, but they really had nothing to say to them. Had it not been for Zhang Han's sake, Jiang Yanlan and the others wouldn't even have come in person. At most, they would have asked Xuanhuan to tell the Xia clan to deal with this matter. They were not ordinary people. If someone wanted to call them over, that person had to be important enough. It's all thanks to Hongshan that our Jiang clan managed to escape this calamity. Patriarch Jiang grabbed Fu Hongshan's hand enthusiastically and said repeatedly, you are Jiang clan's hero and benefactor. Chapter 833, A Surprise for Dong Chen. Don't, Patriarch Jiang, you don't need to thank me. As a member of the Jiang clan, I just did what I should do, Fu Hongshan said hurriedly. Seeing his humble attitude, Patriarch Jiang and the other members of the Jiang clan were more satisfied, and they all looked at him with a smile. It was conceivable that Fu Hongshan's status in the Jiang clan would soar. On the other side, Jiang Yanlan had secretly followed behind Xuanhuan. Her strength was stronger than him, not to mention all the clever means she knew. Therefore, Xuanhuan had not noticed that a person had been following him from a distance all the way along. I'm really out of luck. Xuanhuan balled his hands into fists and bellowed, why was that guy in the Jiang clan? He was very upset. He believed that he had gotten the numbers of the Jiang clan. But who would have thought that they staged Zhang Han Yang to back them up? I gotta go back to the world lit and break to the earth realm. Xuanhuan was quite young and strong. He reckoned that if he entered the earth realm and became the backbone of the sect, he would be able to do anything he wanted without worrying about upsetting others, wouldn't he? While he was pondering, whoosh, all of a sudden, a figure showed up about 100 meters ahead. Eh? Who is it, Emperor King? Gasp. When he recognized the figure, Xuanhuan drew in his breath with a chill. DMN, Zhang Han Yang is indeed the kind of man that seeks revenge for the smallest grievance. I merely talked back to him a little, and now he has sent Emperor King to kill me. I, Xuanhuan, pay my respects to immortal King Chen. He was quite frightened, but he also felt that maybe the other party was just passing by. So he decided to go through the standard greetings first. Don't call me that, I'm so flattered. Chen Qingqing's face was stern. Xuanhuan, if I remember correctly, you ranked among the last 10 on the divine list. You're just 25, but you've already made such an achievement. That's impressive. Yet, you should have known better than to offend Brother Han. Chen Qingqing said these words indifferently. Then, he leaned forward. His long sword appeared in his right hand, and his aura suddenly became murderous. He was ready to kill. Xuanhuan was terrified. How could he be Emperor King's match? Immoral King Chen, please listen to me. Xuanhuan hurriedly said, I didn't mean to offend Zhang Han Yang, it's a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Ha ha ha, why didn't you say it was a misunderstanding when you made those rude remarks? Chen Qingqing sneered. I am a talented disciple of Xuan's sect. You can't kill me. You don't want to turn the two sects against each other, do you? Xuanhuan was both astounded and furious. He didn't expect Zhang Han Yang to be so petty. He merely made a veiled attack, and there was no direct conflict at all. So why would Zhang Han Yang send someone to kill him? What if I kill a disciple that ranks among the last 10 on the divine list? Big deal. Chen Qingqing said, you don't need to even consider running away, because you can't outrun me. Xuanhuan hurriedly took out his weapon. He had to put up a fight anyway. But even Yan Chen, who had occupied the first place on the divine list for more than 2 months, was taken down by Emperor King with 2 moves. How could Xuanhuan win this battle? Cold sweat streamed down from his forehead. What he did not know was, it was Jiang Yanlan's wicked idea to call Chen Qingqing over. Drop dead. Chen Qingqing launched a strike. Instantly, Xuanhuan was drowned in the darkness that blotted out the sky. Ugh! Xuanhuan suddenly let out a cry of fright, then, he fainted because of the terror and quickly started to fall from the sky. Chen Qingqing was stunned when he saw that. How can that happen? It really updated Chen Qingqing's knowledge of courage. They were both at the God Realm peak stage and on the divine list. But how could Xuanhuan be such a cowardice? Reaching forward, Chen Qingqing grabbed Xuanhuan. Jiang Yanlan also flew to them rapidly. What a was! Jiang Yanlan said angrily, it's the first time I've seen someone be scared into a coma. Maybe it has something to do with the secret technique I just performed. Chen Qingqing explained. It did make sense to say that his secret technique had impacted Xuanhuan, but it certainly couldn't be the direct cause because Xuanhuan had fainted even before that strike hit him. That made Jiang Yanlan feel rather mortified. Although you are not his match, you could have made a few moves and then run away. At this time, she seemed to have forgotten that she was the one who came up with the idea. I'm off to beat up Liu, please take him there. With that, Jiang Yanlan quickly left and headed for the Gai clan. Today, the Gai clan was very lively. When Zhang Han came back, dinner was just served. Zhang Han sat on the side and chatted with Meng Meng and Ziyan for a while. Then, everyone turned in. At 10 o'clock, Dong Chen made a hurried journey to Ice City. After learning the news from Chen Qingqing, he was also a little excited. At 3 o'clock in the morning, sect leader Jiang and his men came back to meet Dong Chen. Jiang Yanlan didn't tell sect leader Jiang about that in advance, but after thinking about it, he thought that a blazing eagle king's soul was of little use to them. It might be better to give it to Grand Elder of the Heavenly Knights sect. He didn't even ask for any equivalent treasures in exchange. For powerful figures like him, good connections were much more valuable than treasures. However, Dong Chen had made up his mind that if this treasure really helped him break through, he would repay sect leader Jiang with something of double value. At 5 o'clock in the morning, a group of people came to mystical martial world with Xuanhuan, whose head was drooping on his shoulder, and entered the ancient mine. Dong Chen didn't expect that the mine would be so far away. After traveling for 3 days, they finally arrived at the entrance, which was behind a huge waterfall. Then, they crossed what felt like 100 corners before finally entering the so-called secret place. Although the group of people walked very cautiously, they still encountered a lot of trouble. Fortunately, they were all excellent martial artists, and they managed to safely explore this secret place. The secret place was not very large. Sect leader Jiang also knew a few weird places that might have the soul of the Blazing Eagle King, so, they quickly narrowed down the searching range. It was very likely that Dong Chen wouldn't go out empty-handed, but they had no idea that in a long mountain range tens of thousands of miles away, Grand Elder of Wind Snow School and his men were launching attacks on end against a large crowd of beasts. The Dark Fire Mountain range. If one looked at them from the air, one would definitely find that they had completed about 20% of their task. While slaughtering the beasts, Caprice Mo sect leader shouted, "This is already so hard before the Beast King comes out to fight. Can we really take over this place? I think we might not." The other two leaders were also a little disheartened. They had already obtained more than a dozen divine objects, so the harvest was good. But the endless powerful beasts made them want to retreat. This is just the beginning. Grand Elder of Wind Snow School launched a hack, cutting a brown 5-meter-long lizard into halves. Then he said coldly, "We've gone so far now. If anyone retreats, he will be the enemy of the Wind Snow School." As soon as this statement was made, the Heaven Realm martial artists in Wind Snow School all threw fierce looks at other people. The faces of Caprice Mo sect leader and the others hardened a bit. "Grand Elder, don't bite more than you can chew. It's not that we want chicken out. It's just that we don't believe the thing what you described really exists." The head of Ten Tiger sect said in a cool voice, which could be regarded as an explanation. In fact, they were not worried that they couldn't find the treasure that could help them break through to the Heaven Peak stage. Since the ancient mine was strewn with both great opportunities and dangers, they believed there would be such treasures. However, would the Grand Elder of Wind Snow School be willing to share those with them? After killing all the beasts to get their whiling plotting against one another, they felt that it might not be worth it. They were worried that once they successfully wiped out the beasts, the Wind Snow School would start to attack them instead. That was why they wanted to retreat. Moreover, the bigger reason was that they were afraid of the Beast King they were about to face. A few kilometers ahead, it was a Beast King's territory. The Beast King was said to be even stronger than those at the Heaven Peak stage. Although they planned to defeat the Beast King by siege, some of these people might get killed in the battle. No one wanted to die. "I'm sure the treasures are there." Grand Elder of Wind Snow School held back the killing intent and said calmly, "But the Wind Snow School will take half of the treasures. You will distribute the rest among yourselves. The Wind Snow School will also give some divine objects to those who fail to seize any treasures. Since you've agreed to come, don't stir up trouble halfway, otherwise..." The threat in his words was blatant. As soon as he said that, Caprice Mo sect leader and his men fell silent, for they were weighing the benefits and the losses. Even if they could not get the treasures that could assist them with their breakthrough, it was still good to have some divine objects. So, if one wanted to reach the Heaven Peak stage, one must fight for the treasures. No one could tell who would be the final winner anyway. These people exchanged looks. Although they were in the same camp, they were also on guard against one another. After this episode, they continued to fight in the Dark Fire Mountain range. While the fierce war was in full swing, Zhang Han and the people who wanted to play in the snow have arrived at a snow mountain. Papa, hold me. Everyone had put on ski suits. Meng Meng happily ran to Zhang Han and stretched out her small arms. Come here. Zhang Han held Meng Meng in his arms, jumped forward, and stepped directly on a snowboard. Then he turned around to look at Xian, who had put on the skis. I don't know how to brake. Xian curled her sexy red lips. Ha ha, it's okay, you're with me, just ski behind me, Zhang Han said tenderly. You're displaying your affection in public again. Zhang Li snorted and set off first, kinking. Suddenly, a coquettish voice sounded from behind. I don't know how to brake either. Swish, swish, swish. Wang Ya, Xiong, Zhao Feng, and others all looked over. The corner of Chen Chenking's mouth was twitching. He could not stand people calling him kinking. But Zif wanted to call him that. What could he do about it? I'll help you. Chen Chenking promised and grabbed Zuf's hand. Papa, they are all setting off. Let's hurry up. Seeing that everyone had slid down the mountain, she waved her arms to urge Zhang Han. Let's go. Zhang Han smiled. Stepping on the snowboard, he moved a little and began to slowly slide forward. Xian moved in a little awkward way, but it didn't affect the charm of her long legs in the slightest. It could be said that she had become an eye-catch on the ski field. Following Zhang Han, she felt very safe. As the speed picked up, the game seems to be more and more exciting. After the enjoyable first round, they all climbed back to the top of the mountain. Meng Meng chuckled and said, Papa, I want to ski by myself. As soon as she said that, Zhao Feng fetched her small-sized skis. Zhang Han helped Meng Meng wear the ski shoes and everything, and then watched the little girl ski. Just like her mother, she was also not a sports talent. Every time she was about to fall, an imperceptible gentle force lifted Meng Meng up before she hit the ground. This also gave Meng Meng an illusion that skiing turned out to be so easy. The happy time always passes quickly. Soon, the ski day was over. The next day, Meng Meng wanted to have a snowball fight. Of course, Zhang Han agreed. If without his approval, how could this group of people dare to hang out and have so much fun on the first day of the Chinese New Year? However, good news arrived the next day. Dong Chen had obtained the Blazing Eagle King's soul, which was very powerful. It would still take him some time to refine it. Thus, Dong Chen dropped by the Gai clan just to say hello and then hurried back to the Heavenly Knights sect. Lately, the Heavenly Knights sect seemed more and more promising. The number of newly recruited disciples this year had reached 5,000. Of course, the admission standard had been lowered a little. Most of those new disciples were Qi strength masters. The small number of Wu Dao Grand Masters among them were already considered the very talented ones. Since the worldlet sects had taken in so many disciples, the secular martial arts world appeared to be somewhat deserted. After the Divine List competition and the disciples' recruitment, the secular world was finally peaceful again. If it weren't for the many martial arts family, martial artists would rarely be seen in the secular world. After all, the population base of more than 1 billion in the secular world was too large. In the 10 days they stayed in the Gai clan, they visited all kinds of fun places. Xian also had a good time doing shopping. After that, the group returned to Xiangjiang. On the evening that they were back, Zhang Guanyu came to the castle and said with a smile, Meng Meng, you will start to learn martial arts with Grandpa from tomorrow. You've promised Grandpa, so, tomorrow, you will get up at 6 o'clock. If there is nothing else, you'd better go to bed now. Chapter 834. Meng Meng is starting to learn martial arts. Xian was taken aback. Then, she grinned involuntarily and said, Dad, wouldn't 6 o'clock be too early? Not at all. Zhang Guanyu shook his head. To be a martial artist, one must seize every second to practice. At first, I wanted to start at 5 o'clock, but this brat just wouldn't agree. While talking, Zhang Wenyu threw Zhang Han a nasty look. He originally wanted to teach Meng Meng how to use a broader sword, but his son stubbornly disagreed. Now, he could only teach her some simple martial arts. That was far from enough. Wasn't it? Zhang Han could only give wry smiles at this moment. His wife told him that she was not willing to let Meng Meng study martial arts at such a young age. She saw on TV that martial artists had to do the horse dance for hours on end every day. Xian loved Meng Meng too much to let her suffer like that. She had mentioned it to Zhang Han a few times with a bit of resentment. Meanwhile, Zhang Han's dad was a little upset about all his terms and requirements. So, Zhang Han felt that he had become a piggy in the middle. Then it's settled, granddaughter, let's get up tomorrow morning to practice the basics. When Zhang Wenyu's eyes fell on Meng Meng, a smile immediately climbed up his face. He knew that he did not need to care about Zhang Han's opinion. As to Xian, an excellent daughter-in-law, she certainly would not oppose. But when it came to Meng Meng, he knew he had to coax her into this. But his smiling face did not pay off. HMPH, I'm not doing it. Meng Meng directly turned him down. Ah? Why did you say no now, my girl? You've promised Grandpa, Zhang Wenyu asked in bewilderment. I did promise you that, but I've changed my mind. I got to sleep with Papa and Mama. Meng Meng replied solemnly. Then let's put this off until. Before Zhang Han could finish, Zhang Wenyu stared at him menacingly. His eyes seemed to be saying, you think you've all grown up and don't have to listen to me? All right then. Zhang Han immediately shut up, but on second thought, he added, then let's settle this based on what Meng Meng wants. Yeah? Xian hurriedly echoed, if Meng Meng wants to learn, we will definitely not reject, and we will even wake her up on time. But if that's not what she wants now, then Dad, shall we talk about this when she is older? In her opinion, Meng Meng was unlikely to say yes, but to her surprise, Zhang Wenyu instantly burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, well, that's it, you two adults can't eat your words. Grandpa, I won't go. Meng Meng murmured, I have to accompany Papa and Mama. Huh? But your parents can accompany you too. Zhang Wenyu smiled and stretched out his right hand, unfolded his palm, and said, guess what is this? When Meng Meng saw it, she was dazed for a moment, then cried with joy, hey, a red flower that only a good kid can get. We lost. Seeing this, Xian's heart sank, for she knew that Meng Meng was about to be persuaded. Grandpa went to teacher Lu for a chat and asked for some red flowers to be rewarded to good kids. With a serious look, Zhang Guanyu went on, Mr. Lu said, Meng Meng can get one red flower every time she finishes a week of study with Grandpa, and when you have 15 red flowers, you can exchange for a trophy. Meng Meng's eyes brightened even more. Then, Zhang Wenyu moved on to the second temptation. Not only can you get red flowers by learning martial arts from Grandpa, Grandpa has also prepared ice creams, candies, potato chips, and all kinds of snacks for Meng Meng. Every day when you get your job done, you can have some. Yeah, I love snacks. Meng Meng's big, clear eyes glinted more brightly. Ha ha ha, then, at 6 o'clock tomorrow, Grandpa will be waiting for you. Zhang Guanyu beamed and patted Meng Meng on her cute head. Well, I'm not going. Meng Meng was a little torn, but she still refused Grandpa's offer. What? Zhang Guanyu couldn't believe his ears. How can she say no to that? I've worked so hard these days to try to get her to agree, but she still doesn't want to take my lessons, does she? Suddenly, Zhang Guanyu was at end of his rope and started to scratch his head, not knowing what to say. Xian was stunned, then snickered. You may think our little girl is so gullible, but she isn't. Zhang Han seemed to have guessed something. Sure enough. Meng Meng explained seriously, Grandpa, I'll say yes if Papa agrees but if Papa doesn't, I can't. But Papa just said that he didn't approve. So that's what it is. Enlightenment suddenly dawned on Zhang Wenyu. He looked at Zhang Han with a smile and remarked, "Zhang Han, let me ask you, will you let Meng Meng learn martial arts from me?" Gurgling, Zhang Han swallowed. If he said no at this juncture, God knew what his fate would be. Certainly will. Zhang Han said, "Meng Meng, it's actually good that you can learn some skills from Grandpa, just don't exert yourself too much." "Then I'll go, Grandpa, you gotta give me the red flower first." Meng Meng stretched out her little hand and asked for the red flower in advance. Seeing the clear eyes of the little princess, Zhang Guangyu couldn't bring himself to reject her. He put the little red flower on Meng Meng's palm directly and said with a smile, "Then, Grandpa will be waiting for you under that big tree tomorrow. Okay?" Meng Meng happily agreed. She no longer cared to look at Grandpa but directly dragged Xian away to paste the little red flower on the blackboard. Now half of the small blackboard was already covered by little red flowers. There were 50 flowers in total, which put a big smile on Meng Meng's face. Seeing this, Zhang Guangyu smiled and waved them goodbye. After that, he turned and left. It was not until he walked out of the room that he mumbled something like, "This brat." He was simply complaining that Zhang Han was too protective of Meng Meng. Zhang Guangyu even felt that if he weren't Zhang Han's father, Zhang Han would not let him teach Meng Meng any martial arts at all. For that reason, Zhang Guangyu pulled quite a lot of strings. First, he went to Xuanhuan and asked him to introduce him to Luxan. He talked to Luxan for a long time and bought him drinks several times. After that, he went to Lugo for the red flowers. Now that Meng Meng had agreed, Zhang Guangyu was also relieved. He wasn't much worried about Zhang Han and Xian's view on this. After all, they were his son and daughter-in-law. He was most concerned about Meng Meng's attitude. If she did not agree, given Zhang Han's temperament, he would have no chance to negotiate. "Mama, I have so many red flowers now." Meng Meng looked at the blackboard, and pride could be seen from her delicate face. "Yeah, Meng Meng is really awesome." Xian praised. "Well, now you have to get up early tomorrow. Let's go to bed early tonight. It is 8:30 now. How about we go to watch an episode of cartoon and then turn in?" "Okay." Meng Meng nodded. So the two went off to the movie hall, while Zhang Han went to prepare juice and snacks. The family of three watched cartoons for a while, then went back to sleep as they had agreed. At 5:45 the next day, ring, 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 the alarm clock rang. Xian opened her eyes in a daze. It's almost time. Why not let her sleep for a while, anyway? Meng Meng is still on holiday, it's okay to go after 7 o'clock. Zhang Han suggested. "No, Dad will be waiting for her in a moment." Xian shook her head slightly. She sat up, eyes half closed, still a little sleepy. In fact, it was not in a moment. Zhang Guangyu was waiting the now. Zhang Han patted his forehead. "My father is really determined this time. I'll wake Meng Meng up." Xian got off the bed, came to the smaller bed nearby, and called softly, "Meng Meng, Meng Meng, it's time to get up." It took 2 minutes to wake the little girl. "Meng Meng, you should go and learn Kung Fu with Grandpa." Because she turned in early the previous evening, Meng Meng quickly perked up and went to brush her teeth with Xian. Minutes later, they went downstairs and came to the Thunder Sound tree together. "You're 2 minutes late." Zhang Guangyu stood there with his hands clasped behind his back and reminded, "Next time, you must be on time, be punctual. You can be early but not late." Zhang Guangyu was teaching her what was the proper behavior. Meng Meng didn't really understand, but Xian pursed her lips slightly. "HMPH, we'll be on time tomorrow." This was the first day. She thought that 15 minutes was enough to wake Meng Meng up and prepare everything. Who would know that they were still late even though they tried to hurry? "It's good that you've dressed properly." Zhang Guangyu glanced at Meng Meng's clothes. She was wearing a white exercise suit. It looked perfectly clean. Of course, it was brand new. Zhang Guangyu looked at Zhang Han and Xian and asked, "Why do you two wear exercise suits as well?" "Huh? We We want to practice with Meng Meng. Zhang was taken aback for a moment. Ha, you want to have some free lessons by the way? Zhang Guanyu laughed and waved his hand at them, saying, stay out of this, go back now, don't interfere with my teaching Meng Meng martial arts. Huh? They can't, Grandpa, Papa and Mama have to be with me. Meng Meng quickly added, I have already called some friends here to accompany you. Look, I've got them here. Zhang Wenyu pointed to the sky. When he looked up, his face darkened. Humphrey. Hum. Humph. Dai's grunts came. It already fell asleep after leaving my sight for just a minute, eh? Meng Meng was slightly surprised. Big hi, little hi, tiny tot, how did you climb up there? It's too dangerous, get down here. Ow, whoosh. Little hi jumped down immediately. Tiny tot fell directly on the lawn below with a grunt. Oh? Dai shook its head, a little at a loss. It seemed that it had heard the call of the little host and wondered if it was a dream. It thought so and then went back to sleep. But just when it rolled over to continue to sleep, from the corner of its eye it saw several people standing below. They've really come. Whoa, I'm coming. Dai straightened up and jumped off the tree. Look, how high is this tree? It's 15 meters tall. Do you know why Dai can jump right off? Zhang Guanyu asked. No idea. Meng Meng's big eyes blinked. Because they've practiced martial arts, and when Meng Meng masters some martial arts, you can jump off the tree as well. How dashing that is. Well, Dai and the other two will stay here with you. Zhang Guanyu looked at Zhang Han and said, you too. Meng Meng, you stay here with Grandpa to learn martial arts, and Papa and Mama will go upstairs to make breakfast for you, Zhang Han said, sort of amused. In the end, Zhang Han and Xian backed off. Zhang Wenyu definitely did not want them here. With their presence, he wouldn't have the mood to teach. If Meng Meng got tired, Zhang Han would definitely take her back to rest, and Xian would almost feel pained, too. But how could he make Meng Meng work too hard? Well, as the saying goes, it's the first step that's the most troublesome. It was true. To teach Meng Meng martial arts, Zhang Wenyu had resorted to all the means to get her to agree on this at the beginning. Ha. After musing for a moment, Zhang Guanyu looked at Meng Meng and abruptly began to laugh. Grandpa, when shall we start? Dai, little hi, tiny tot all stood by Meng Meng's side as they were told. That also made Meng Meng start to look forward to the lesson. Let's get started. Today we are only learning the basics. Come on, Meng Meng, drink this bottle of water first. Zhang Wenyu took a small bottle of water from the small table on the side. I'm not thirsty, Grandpa, I just had some water. The water Grandpa's prepared for you is no regular water, we can only start our lesson after you drink it. Okay. Meng Meng obediently drained the water in the bottle with a few gulps. It tasted a bit cool and sweet. Chapter 835. It doesn't seem to be that difficult. It was the sweetened brew that Zhang Wenyu had specially prepared using spiritual herbs. He had put in so much effort preparing it. When they saw this, Zhang Han and Xian on the third floor balcony exchanged glances. My dad has got everything so thoroughly prepared. Zhang Han could not help but chuckle. Meng Meng won't be tired out drinking a few mouthfuls of that brew, although we don't know how much of it she can absorb. Most ordinary spiritual herbs can only help improve your constitution. The better ones are of no help to you. If Meng Meng inherits your powerful genes, her body will reject the brew too. But will it do Meng Meng good taking spiritual herbs at such a young age? Xian asked, rather worried. Everything the old man prepared is good. Zhang Han shook his head slightly, his eyes riveted on Meng Meng. Then he said, not an ounce of energy wasted. Our daughter must have good potential for cultivation. She must take after you. Xian also relaxed and started smiling. Under their gaze, Zhang Guanyu began his education. His hands behind his back. His head bowed slightly. He stared at Meng Meng and said slowly, Kung Fu is another term for martial arts. What does it mean? Martial means to stop conflicts and arts means to establish connections and go along with the flow. Martial arts can help strengthen the physique and defend against enemies. One can act chivalrously upon encountering anything unjust. To put it plainly, you can protect both yourself and others. Martial arts practitioners like us can enhance our body, mind and soul, promote security and energy, and remain in equanimity. He gave a long and eloquent lecture. Zhang Wangyu felt that he had already explained enough, yet Meng seemed not to have understood. She raised her head, and there was perplexity in her clear eyes. What a complicated topic martial arts are, so difficult to understand. Grandpa, how are martial arts different from that? Meng asked. Huh? Different from what? Zhang Wangyu started. From what Grandpa had displayed. Meng brandished her small arms a little. Grandpa's movements were very dashing, but why is he standing here now talking without showing them? Oh, you mean that? Zhang Wangyu could not help but laugh. That is a stance you can only show when you've made some progress in martial arts. Granddaughter, you have just started learning. We must begin with the basics. So what are the basics? The basics are the fundamental movements. The first we will learn today is the horse stance. To put it simply, it is a simple stance yet rather difficult. Since this is the basic, your lower body will be steady if you master it. What is your lower body? It means your legs. You should be totally inert like a virgin when you are still, yet as agile as a hare when you are active. All these actions must act in accordance with your hip and waist movements. Take this as an example, kicking a leg sideways, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Zhang Guanyu balanced himself on a single left leg, his body leaning back slightly. In a moment, his right leg had kicked 5 times successively. His movements were so fast that wind whooshed on his pants. Wow, Grandpa is awesome. Meng complimented her grandfather. Look, whether I kick upwards or downwards, or use my left or right leg, my body remains immobile. This is what it means by having a steady base. Do you know what will happen if you are unsteady? Zhang Wangyu gave another few kicks, then said, try it, Meng. Meng nodded obediently. She raised her right leg, trying to kick sideways. However, she kicked too powerfully and wobbled on her left leg. Her right leg swept to the left, causing her body to topple. She fell down onto the field. Huh? How come it's different? Meng was stunned. Grandpa had kicked so swiftly and imposingly, yet why had I toppled at my turn? Ha ha ha, of course there's a difference. Zhang Guanyu chuckled. It's because your lower body isn't steady. Grandpa had trained long and hard on my horse stance. Granddaughter, if you want to be highly skilled like me, you must take one step at a time. We'll start with the horse stance and then move on to the rest. Of course, once you master it, I will give you a little red flower. Let's start now. You do the horse stance for 40 minutes. After that, you can have these fruit jellies as a reward for the day. As he said that, Zhang Wangyu took out 3 fruit jellies from his right pocket and placed them on the side table. Meng was quite eager since they were her favorite. Grandpa, you mean you will give me another red flower after I master it? Meng tried to confirm with a question. Yes, if you master it, I'll give you another little red flower. Then I'll tell Teacher Lu how many flowers you have earned from me. Once you have accumulated 15 flowers, Teacher Lu will present you with a trophy, Zhang Wangyu said with a smile. Okay, then I'll learn it. Let's start now, Grandpa. Meng stood stiffly erect. Granddaughter, now follow me. Stand with your legs a little apart, a bit wider. Yes, that's right. Lower yourself a little, like Grandpa. Yes, that's it, but your hips aren't in the right posture. Do this, and your upper body must be upright. Hey, Dai, little high and tiny tot. What are you guys doing? Hurry up and do the posture. After adjusting Meng's posture, Zhang Wangyu saw that the 3 brothers were watching them. He immediately waved his hand at them. After that, he realized that Dai's horse stance was correct, but Little Hai and Tiny Tot didn't know how to do it. Little Hai had not hesitated. It placed its body weight on its thighs and moved backwards to steady itself, assuming the horse stance. But it looked somewhat awkward. Tiny Tot looked like a penguin. Its legs were already so short, and the stance it took looked like nothing in this world. Zhang Wangyu gave them a couple of glances and said nothing. After all, they were just accompanying the girl. That's right, this is the right posture. Don't move. If you do, it won't be right. Zhang Wangyu stood before Meng Meng, taking up the horse stance. In this way, both grandfather and granddaughter began practicing martial arts. But it was indeed tough for a 5-year-old kid to remain motionless. Before 2 minutes was up, Meng Meng said, "Grandpa, time's up." "Huh? What do you mean?" "There's still a long way to go." After another half a minute. "Grandpa, I'm tired. I don't want to do the horse stance anymore." "Don't you want the little red flower, Meng Meng?" After another 5 minutes. "Is it time yet, Grandpa?" "Not yet, soon, hold on, and then we can have the fruit jellies." After a few more minutes. "Grandpa, time's up." "Not yet." So Meng Meng asked every few minutes. One could see Xian's complexion change every now and then. "Is it all right? Won't Meng Meng be tired after doing the stance for so long? Why don't you talk to Dad? Tell him to make it easy on the first day." Meng Meng doesn't seem to be able to take it. What now? Xian used to be Meng Meng's disciplinarian, yet she felt her heart ache after seeing her daughter do the stance for so long. It's okay, Dad has fed her a few mouthfuls of that brew, so Meng Meng won't be tired out. Let father teach her, it will do her good to practice some martial arts, that way, she won't be bullied in school. Zhang Han was rather relaxed. He had spoken to his father and felt that learning martial arts was a good decision. It would not affect what he would later teach Meng Meng and would also satisfy his father. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Yet the girl's mother was still worried. It was because Meng Meng was too young. She was just 5 years old. "I'm making breakfast for all of you." After watching for some time, Zhang Han walked to the kitchen. After taking 2 steps, he halted, pulling Xian's hand. "Come, let's do it together. It seems that the last time we prepared a meal was at the little restaurant." "Okay." Xian hesitated a little. After watching for more than 20 minutes, she felt that Meng Meng would be fine. It must be that herbal brew. She became less worried and walked with Zhang Han to the kitchen with a gentle smile. "Let me show you what I'm capable of this time." "Okay." Zhang Han nodded. "Humphrey, you never let me cook in the past." I'm unwilling to let you do that now too. I'm just asking you to keep me company. Then I'll chop the vegetables and help you prepare the ingredients." So the 2 of them divided the tasks between themselves and walked into the kitchen. Xian put on a kitchen apron and helped Zhang Han put on his. "Let me warm the milk and boil the eggs first." The kitchen was very large, roomy enough for 2. Zhang Han was warming the milk by one side, while Xian was washing the mushrooms by the other. Then she began dicing them. She was wearing a one-piece dress today. Looking at her from the side, Zhang Han found her proportions curvaceous. Her apron bulging with her bust while her butt protruded in her dress. Her figure was a standard S-curve. Zhang Han's desires were aroused. He embraced Xian from behind and their bodies touched. Very soon, Xian felt her face redden. "You're so annoying." Xian turned her head back to berate him, but the moment she turned, Zhang Han moved forward and planted a kiss on her sexy, ruby lips. While Meng Meng was out practicing kung fu, the couple was engaged in lovey-dovey acts in the kitchen. "Grandpa, it's been ages. Is it time yet?" Meng Meng had asked more times than he could remember. Zhang Wangyu answered patiently, "A bit longer, it'll be time soon, let's persevere." Had it been another child, he would have been exhausted and given up after a few minutes, but not Meng Meng. She was after all the daughter of Zhang Han and Xian, and no ordinary child. Besides, Zhang Wangyu had taken great pains and made her drink the brew. Of course she could persist in training for some time. 40 minutes passed in a flash. Zhang Wangyu saw that Meng Meng could still keep the posture, so he made her do another 20 minutes for a whole hour. Okay, time's up. Zhang Wangyu wiped the sweat on his forehead and instantly relaxed. So tough. He felt that the questions he answered Meng Meng had made his head swell. But things are always difficult at the start. If she could persevere on the first day, it wouldn't be so tough on the second. At this moment, Zhang Han and Xian walked over. After finishing the last fruit jelly, Meng Meng ran to greet them. She mumbled, "Papa, Mama, I did the horse stance for a long time. Papa has seen that. You're great, Meng Meng." Zhang Han complimented her, making the little princess chuckle. Well, practicing martial arts doesn't seem to be too difficult after all. Chapter 836, Award Nominations. Come on, breakfast is ready, let's go eat. Zhang Han touched Meng Meng's head and then took her by the hand to go have breakfast. Dad, why don't you ask Mom to join us? We have prepared quite a lot, Xian asked with a smile. Sure. Zhang Wangyu thought about it, as they arrived at the restaurant on the third floor of the castle. Oh my granddaughter is very pretty. Is learning martial arts with your grandpa going well? When Rong Jiali arrived at the restaurant, she could not help but smile when she saw Meng Meng wearing her martial arts uniform. Grandma, learning martial arts is not difficult at all, it just took a long time, Meng Meng replied. Then next time, ask your grandpa to shorten the time. Rong Jiali smiled, then walked over and sat down by the table. Got it. At this moment, Zhang Wangyu patted his leg and looked at Zhang Han. I'm going to build a wall at the area under the tree and inlay a TV there, so that when we do the horse stance in the future, we can watch cartoons. PFT, Zhang Han almost spat out the porridge. My goodness, isn't that over-preparing? Little red flowers, snacks, and now cartoon as well. How can Meng Meng refuse to learn martial arts? The old man sure is prepared. Zhang Han thought to himself. As long as you're happy. The corners of Zhang Han's mouth trembled. Of course he would agree. I can watch cartoons tomorrow. Meng Meng said with a giggle. In her mind, eating snacks and watching cartoons while squatting in that strange position was quite good. This scene made Xian smile. As a matter of fact, this was good for Meng Meng. Zhang Wangyu was doing so much for her because he likes his granddaughter. Xian was also happy, as long as Meng Meng wasn't tired, all was good. Therefore after dinner, Zhang Wangyu left in a hurry to go find Zhao Feng. He asked Zhao Feng to take him around the mall. In less than 10 minutes, he bought a 70-inch TV. After Zhang Wangyu returned to the mountains, he took out all kinds of materials from the space ring. Not long after, a cyan-colored 5-meter-long and 4-meter-tall TV wall appeared. Zhao Feng connected the wires, TV boxes and television networks. Before noon, everything was ready. Many people who saw this found it a bit strange. Why was there a TV here? When they learned that it was for Meng Meng to use while practicing martial arts, they immediately understood. So it turned out to be tempting a child. Many people knew that Zhang Wangyu had put in a lot of effort to teach Meng Meng martial arts. They found it a little strange that whenever Grandpa wanted to teach his granddaughter martial arts, he had to think of a way for her to learn. Well, this could only be blamed on Zhang Han, who was overprotective of his daughter. At 5:58 the next morning, Zhang Han and Xian took Meng Meng out. They were very punctual and had even arrived 2 minutes early. It couldn't be helped, as Zhang Wangyu had spoken with a straight face. For the concept of time, Xian felt that it was necessary to be punctual. Yesterday was the first time, so she didn't have a good grasp of time. Today, she had gotten up early at 5:40 a.m., washed Meng Meng and changed her into the training uniform. However, they had still arrived at 5:58 a.m. We still need to do the horse stance today, We will do it for the duration of 2 episodes of a cartoon. Meng Meng, what do you want to watch? I will play it for you, Zhang Wangyu said while turning on the TV. Grandpa, I want to watch Boonie Bears. Okay, drink this cup of water first. Zhang Wangyu played the cartoon while Meng Meng drank the water. Start the horse stance. Meng Meng displayed the proper horse stance posture. The effect was slowly showing, as Meng Meng's body began to improve little by little. This time Meng Meng was not bored, as she was enjoying the cartoon. Sometimes when she laughed, she would forget to maintain her posture. Each time, Zhang Guangyi would adjust the posture for Meng Meng. She had kept her posture for an entire 70 minutes. In the end, Meng Meng began to feel tired. She said to Zhang Guangyi, I don't want to do it anymore. Doing too much was just as bad as doing a little. Zhang Guangyi quickly responded, then quickly sit down and have a rest. You can eat this bag of chips. After you finish the cartoon, we can go to eat breakfast. Okay. Meng Meng quickly ran to the chair on the side and sat down. She opened the bag of chips and ate happily, as her calves couldn't stop shaking. Plop. Dai sat on the ground while breathing heavily. It glanced at Zhang Guangyi with dissatisfaction. It had to squat every day and wasn't allowed to poop. The host's father was too bossy. Since then, Zhang Han and his family began to get up early each day. The effect was that they would feel tired early, so they would often sleep at 9. Just like that, Meng Meng did the horse stance for 3 weeks before she began to do it properly. Each day, she would receive a little red flower, which had made her very happy. It was just that later, Meng Meng would always be pestering her grandfather, asking him how long she would need to do the horse stance for. This was because if she learned it well, she would receive a little red flower. However, after doing the horse stance day after day, she still couldn't do it well. On this day, when Meng Meng began her practice, Wang Yihan, whom she had not seen for a long time, came over. Yihan. Meng Meng, I miss you. Wang Yihan seemed to have lost a little weight, as she hugged Meng Meng intimately. Why didn't you come to play with me during the New Year? My papa, mama and I went to my grandpa's place to play in the snow. It's up north. Later, I was busy practicing the horse stance every day. What is the horse stance? Wang Yihan asked with confusion. It's like this, you have to keep squatting. Meng Meng's calves moved to both sides and properly showed a demonstration. Oh, I can do it too, Wang Yihan shouted. She copied Meng Meng's movements and squatted down as well. Within 10 seconds, Wang Yihan grinned. Oh, it's so boring. Wang Yihan quickly stood up. Meng Meng, let's go to school. We haven't seen Lehman and Martin in a long time. Okay, let's go. The two of them boarded the panda car and sat in the back row. Zhang Han drove while Xian sat in the front passenger seat. As for Suyu, because she was in a hurry to go on a business trip, she especially sent Wang Yihan here. The two cars went down the mountain together. Suyu went to the airport, while Zhang Han sent Meng Meng to the kindergarten. It was already the second half of the semester, so Meng Meng was now used to going to school. Sometimes, she would even have a fun time. The first step was always the most difficult. Zhang Han and Xian had struggled a lot when Meng Meng went to kindergarten for the first time. After dropping Meng Meng off, they drove to the company. In the office on the 9th floor, Zif was sorting out some materials. Elder sister Yan, brother-in-law. After seeing the two of them, Zif immediately said, "It's now the beginning of March. The Xiangjiang Academy Awards and the Oscars are about to begin. We have received the nominations for the Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Sound Editing, Best Visual Effects, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and Best Fantasy Film. The nominations are for both Xiangjiang and the Oscars. In Xiangjiang, we are also nominated for Best Director, Best Chemistry, and the Best Breakthrough Actress. Needless to say, this must be specially made for our elder sister Yan. There is also a Best Breakthrough Actor, but they asked brother-in-law if he wanted to go on stage. If he does, Then there will be one more award. There is also a more special one. Speaking up to here, Zif smiled and waited 5 seconds before she spoke again. The last nomination is the best kissing scene. Ha ha ha, elder sister Yan, your kissing scene with brother-in-law was very captivating. Whoosh. Ziyan's pretty face flushed slightly. Zhang Han was her husband. When she was filming, she didn't think too much. It was normal that they would kiss more passionately in private. However, it was the first time that Ziyan was like that on screen. Zif had expressed her meaning very clearly. She directly said, everyone nominations at the Xuanhuan Awards can be regarded as winners. In the past, it was unimaginable that because of brother-in-law's name, they would contact him first. Of course, according to Zif, the film and television works were well deserved of the awards. They had been shot extremely well. No one would believe that the works had used natural effects. Zhang Han isn't going. Ziyan smiled and said, I will accept the prize on his behalf. Oh, that's fine too. Zif nodded. She knew that when her brother-in-law was filming, he looked different compared to his appearance in real life. If he went to receive the award and showed up like this, he would probably need to be careful getting surrounded by fans when going out in the future. God knew how many people liked Captain Jack now, but then Zif's face turned serious. There's a piece of bad news. The Oscars? Ziyan asked. It was not difficult to guess. The last movie was released at a sky-high price, so the other party had lost a lot of money. The Edmund family had a lot of influence in Hollywood. Although they had lost a lot of money, they weren't the only ones. Everyone who participated in it had lost some, but it was bearable. It was imaginable how much the Edmund family hated Zhang Han and them. It's already good enough to have nominations over there. I never thought to win an award. I used to yearn for it, but now, if I can win the Xuanhuan Academy Awards, my dream when I was young will be fulfilled. Ziyan smiled. From her expression, it was possible to see that she really didn't care too much. Edmund and Parker both have nominations over there. In the past, other companies may have competed for those, but this time, after having lost money, they put pressure on everyone together, so there are very few people nominated. They are obviously coming at full force. Edmund had only 2 films last year, and the box office for both of them was not very high. However, there are too many tricky things involved that I don't think we have a chance of winning. Zif pursed her lips as she had a bit of pity in her eyes. According to the box office, word of mouth and other data, their side had a steady victory. Zif felt that they could win the Oscars. They could at least win half of the nominations, even if they couldn't win everything. But with how things were going now, it seemed to be impossible. It's fine. Ziyan shook her head and said, the Edmund family is only one of the top companies in Hollywood. They won't be able to hide the truth from everyone. Besides, we don't want to win the award. Being nominated is also a kind of recognition. This only shows 2 points. One is that Edmund wants to win over us at the Oscars. Second, there are people there who support us, or more like supports fairness. There's also another possibility, Zif said after thinking about it. Maybe it's Edmund's opponents who support our nominations, as they don't want the Edmund family to get what they want. Zhang Han laughed while looking at the two of them discussing and analyzing. So interesting, they are quite smart at work. Zhang Han thought to himself. If these words were heard by Ziyan, she would definitely pinch Zhang Han's waist and say, what do you mean? Are you saying that we are idiots when we're not working? Chapter 837, A Warning. The Oscar will be held on the 12th. In North American time, it will be held on the 11th. We will go there on the 10th. In Xuanhuan, it is on the 14th, so there's still time for us to go back and forth. When we come back, it will probably be on the 12th. After saying that, Zif felt a little thirsty, so she picked up the coffee cup and took a sip of coffee. The 10th, Zhang Han's face changed. He took out his mobile phone and looked at the calendar. It's Wednesday on the 10th. Zhang Han muttered and was a little hesitant. Judging from his expression, Ziyan knew that this guy was thinking about taking Meng Meng there. Right, if Zhang Han and I are away for 2 days, will Meng Meng cry? There are her grandparents, her maternal grandparents, and so many people. It shouldn't be possible, right? Xian was also a little uncertain. Zhang Han should be thinking about asking Meng Meng to leave and taking Meng Meng there with him. But would Meng Meng be tired if she took such a long time to fly back and forth on the plane? Forget it, I don't care. Take her with him if Zhang Han wants to. However, things went contrary to her wishes. At noon, they went back to Mount New Moon. While they were having lunch in the restaurant, Xian chatted with Rong Jiali about this matter. Meng Meng is clingy to his father now. It's impossible for him to leave for a day. We're going to North America for an Oscar award on the 10th. He plans to give Meng Meng 2 days off and take her to North America to play. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Wenyu put down his chopsticks. You can't take Meng Meng there. I'm going to teach Meng Meng Kung Fu. I'm not even going to the ancient mine for this, but you're taking her out to play, Zhang Wenyu said as he glanced at Zhang Han. When I'm not with Meng Meng, she will cry, Zhang Han said helplessly. I have no choice because she's my daughter. Hearing this, Zhang Wenyu sighed slightly, seeing that there were a lot of people in the restaurant. He casually waved a soundproof cover. Only then did he slowly say, the point wasn't that Meng Meng would miss her practice by going out with you. I am not talking about this. The martial arts world in North America is also very powerful and very difficult to deal with. You have offended the big family there. Sometimes, when the family's power grows to a certain degree, there must be the support of senior martial artists behind it. Even if Uncle Dong and we accompany you, there are too few people. If there is really a big dispute, one at the Heaven Peak stage can escape, but what about others? Can't you let my granddaughter be in danger for just 2 days? Zhang Han's expression changed slightly when he heard what he said. That was true. If it was for the sake of safety, it was certainly okay not to take Meng Meng with them. Although he could fight against someone at the Heaven Peak stage, he was still at a slight disadvantage. After all, he had only cultivated for slightly more than a year after returning. Even if an even more formidable cultivator returns, he will still need time to grow. Is there anything special about the martial arts world over there? Is there any special power individual? Zhang Han asked. He had heard about special power individuals, but he didn't know too much about them. He didn't care too much about them before, but now they had to go there, so he needed to know them. The existence of special power individuals is a factor. There are also many special power individuals in Hua Nation. Zhang Guangyu couldn't help laughing, just like those who have blood, such as Chen King who has King Dragon blood. When he was a Chi Strength Master, his ability was stronger than that of others. At that time, he could be called a special power individual. In North America, it's the same. They're basically similar. However, as far as I know, the special power individuals there are more perfect, and their abilities are different and unpredictable. When they become masters in the divine realm or above, their advantages will gradually decline. Special power individuals are the second, and they account for only a small part in the martial arts world over there. Martial artists are the main body. We have to be careful of two large forces. One is from the Radiant Sect, and the other is the Vampire Group. The Radiant Sect and the Vampire Group are the most powerful forces in that area. Their status is extraordinary, and the conflict between the two sides has lasted for a long time. It's much longer than the battle between us and Wind Snow School. As far as I know, their battle should last for 1,000 years. Oh, the Radiant Sect and the Vampire Group? Zhang Han had a thoughtful look on his face. Zhang Wenyu smiled when he saw this. The Radiant Sect is a large-scale sect. In conversion, you can see it as Wind Snow School. It isn't like the materials in some films or TV works. The Vatican does exist, and there are also some mighty people. They don't care about disputes. They only attack when vampires are going to massacre. As for the Radiant Sect, they have a grudge against the vampires. Uncle Dong told me that the Radiant Sect has a kind of supreme treasure. If it isn't at the God Realm Peak stage, it might surpass that level. It's like a sphere. spawning a pool. Every disciple of the Radiant sect will enter the pool to cultivate. The energy within the sphere is extremely nourishing to vampires, thus, given the nature of the vampire group, it naturally has its eyes on the energy. Afterward, the people of the Radiant sect discovered that the blood of vampires can replenish the energy of their sect's supreme treasure. Thus, the two sides became true archenemies. Oh, I see. Zhang Han smiled and said, as far as I can see, the vampires are born without pure blood and their energy is impure, so they are indeed useful. The blood of a vampire at the level of the Grand Prince can be refined into true blood, which will be more useful. In the depths of the starry sky, there were also vampires, but the vampire group in the cultivation world was also a noble bloodline. Their lifespan was long and they were powerful. When they fought, there was a sea of blood. Killing was their nature. Sometimes they treated the people in the group in the same way, but the way of heaven was relatively fair. Because their bloodline was strong, their breeding ability was extremely poor. In the big cultivation world, the possibility of meeting a vampire was almost the same as that of a strange beast. That's true, however. The vampire prince and the vampire patriarch are hard to kill. Even if they had a single drop of blood left, they would still be able to regenerate. This is the reason why very few people are willing to offend the vampire group. They are too hard to deal with. It's rather unbelievable that you refined Hallan Prince. Zhang Wangyu let out a soft sigh. Fortunately, the Hallan clan has no one to rely on, otherwise, they would hold a grudge against you. If it's the real vampire group, I may not have a good idea. I can only kill them with my strength, but it's easy to kill a vampire with only a trace of the bloodline. Zhang Han replied, Dad, there are 3 moves that I taught you can kill them. At this point, Zhang Wengyu's face darkened and he said, Son, your cultivation technique is truly amazing. Now that I've just started cultivating, I've already found it powerful, profound, and difficult to comprehend. I don't know when I'll be able to fully grasp it. It's about 8 or 10 years, Zhang Han replied. Will it take that long? Zhang Guangyu was stunned. It only took him 1 year and 3 months to reach the mastery realm of his previous cultivation method. He originally thought that it would take him 2 or 3 years. He would never have thought that it would take him 8 or 10 years. That's fast, Zhang Han said with a smile. It was merely 10 years, even if he cultivated it to the mastery realm. It was only the beginning. The cultivation method was the foundation. The difficulty was in the secret skills and supernatural power derived from the cultivation method, and they were the capital to fight against the enemy. I strayed off the topic. I haven't finished yet. Zhang Wangyu suddenly remembered something important and said, there are some vampires of England, but the most powerful group is still in North America, named the Ross family. It is said that the patriarch is already 1,800 years old. He can suppress anyone at the Heaven Peak stage, and he is the biggest enemy of the Radiant sect. The leader of the Radiant sect is called the Holy King, and he is also a very powerful person. Even your grandpa thought that he was no match for him at that time. What's the relationship between them and my trip? Zhang Han asked. The Edmund family isn't a big deal. You have to pay attention to the forces behind them. Don't underestimate them. We have to keep this in mind. As for the forces behind the Edmund family, I don't know, either. Therefore, I advise you not to take too many people with you on this trip. If there are too many people, it's fine if nothing happens. If something happens, you can't take care of them. If Uncle Dong and the others go with you, your fighting capacity will be higher. When something happens, the other side will send more experts. Zhang Wangyu sighed. It's nothing. We are going to participate in the event, not to kill people. Zhang Han smiled. As long as the Edmund family didn't act rashly, Zhang Han wouldn't take action because of the little dispute in the past. Now his mind was still very calm. Moreover, Zhang Han was more or less cautious after talking to Ui, although he did not say anything. From Ui's eyes and tone, he knew that there were big secrets and terrible existences on the earth. At the very least, the fact that Ui's combat strength had soared to such a high level was still somewhat baffling. Zhang Han used to feel that he was half a step to the elixir realm, but now he couldn't feel it. Obviously, what he wanted others to see was under his control. By the way, there's one more thing you should pay attention to. Zhang Wangyu paused all of a sudden and said, you need to be warier of the government over there. The current technology weapons cannot be underestimated. In fact, the government has a lot of unknown weapons. We still need to be careful. The Vatican is a semi-official force, coupled with powerful technology weapons, so this is the capital for ruling the martial arts world over. That doesn't dare to make trouble. The government of Hua Nation is also powerful. But we have borrowed a lot of the fame of Black-White Palace. If Black-White Palace is really an official force, I'm afraid that many wars will never happen in the secular world. Is Black-White Palace in Kunlun Immortal World or in Ancient Mine? Zhang Han suddenly asked. Huh? Zhang Guangyu was stunned for a moment. Who knows? Anyway, when the authorities need it, Black-White Palace will appear. The disciples of Black-White Palace should have appeared this year. Nobody would have thought that there would be no movement now. Black-White Palace. This sect was still very mysterious. The father and son had a brief chat. Later, Zhang Han and Xian talked about the team going to North America this time. There were a lot of people at first, but later, under Zhang Wengyu's advice, a batch of people was reduced, which meant they would go into battle with a light pack. Since it had been decided, there would be another task tonight. Meng Meng. Zhang Han coughed and stared at Meng Meng, then said, I have something to do with your mom in a few days. I have to go somewhere else and will be back in about 2 or 3 days. Your grandparents and maternal grandparents will be with you at home. Be obedient. Chapter 838, A Trip. Huh? Meng Meng was stunned after hearing what he said, and even her eyes froze. What did he mean by that? He didn't want to take her with him. No way. Meng Meng shook her head and refused. I want to be with Papa and Mama. Meng Meng. Xian smiled helplessly and said, we're not going out to play this time, but to work. It'll take a long time to take a flight, and you'll be very tired if you follow us. Besides, you have to go to school. It's just over 2 days and it'll be over soon. One could well imagine that it was another difficult journey. Meng Meng was unwilling to agree on the first day. On the second day, she was a little unhappy. She finally agreed on the third day. Days passed one after another. After nearly a month, Meng Meng and Xian got used to getting up early. At 5:30, they got up to Washington. At 6 o'clock, Meng Meng and Grandpa went to do a martial arts squat. She had breakfast at 7:30. After packing simply, Zhang Han took Meng Meng to kindergarten at 8 o'clock. Soon, the 9th arrived, and it was approaching the day to leave. That night, it was still daytime in North America. In a villa that was close to Hollywood, the young Edmund and Parker were bare-chested, with an enchanting beauty under their bodies. After a while, Edmund, who was sweating profusely, sat back and lit up a cigar. Edmund, you promised me, tomorrow, I'll wait for the good news. The golden-haired, jade-eyed woman leaned against Edmund's chest, her voice very charming. No problem. You must know about our Edmund family, Amoys. The best female lead tomorrow is none other than you. Of course, tonight, I still have to take you to see my uncle. Remember to wear sexy clothes, Edmund said with a smile. A hint of unhappiness flashed in the eyes of the woman next to him. She also had to find his uncle. She was very clear about what she was going to do. Did she spend so much time with him in vain, and would she do it with his uncle once again? However, for the best leading actress, the effort was still worth it. That was the most prestigious reputation. Many investors valued their reputation, which meant that her income would rise a lot. Once the remuneration rose, her social status would rise. Okay, Edmund, I'll dress up sexy at night, but I'm a little worried that Ross will propose Xian as the best heroine, Amoys said. She didn't finish her sentence, because she knew what she said would make Edmund angry. Pirates of the Caribbean, with 2 episodes a year, were both classic works. In terms of box office and reputation, Both exceeded those of the two plays shot by Edmund, which also made their circle lose a lot of money. This was not a secret, and it was often mentioned by others. If it was truly fair and just, then that was the competition between Purple Moon Entertainment Company and manufacturers of a few other classic masterpieces. It was not something that Edmund needed to care about, but sometimes, connections were extremely important. The Edmund family was so powerful that it would be able to influence the final prize. In Amoy's view, if she could get the award by sleeping with Edmund even 10 times, she would be willing to do so, not to mention once. With this idea, Amoy began to be restless, her hands and feet began to move, and Edmund's breathing became slightly rapid. When they come, I will give them a big surprise, but I don't know. There was a sparkle in Edmund's eyes. Xian, the Eastern beauty, seemed to be missed by quite a lot of people. He didn't know if he could have a chance. He thought of Xian's beautiful face on the screen. It's so exciting. In an instant, Edmund's feeling came back, and once again, he was as vigorous as a tiger. Seeing his blurred gaze, Amoy knew that he was looking at the pot while eating from a bowl. It was the 10th. After finishing doing the martial arts squat, Meng was a little unhappy when having breakfast. Seeing this, Zhang Han smiled and touched her head, saying, "Dear, Mom and Dad will be back the day after tomorrow. It's okay to have Grandpa and Grandma to stay with you, isn't it?" "Ahem, don't forget what Grandpa just told you. It's our little secret," Zhang Wangyu said with a smile. During this period, he looked at Zhang Han triumphantly. "Do you see that Meng and I have a small secret?" Zhang Han was quite speechless. "Didn't you just prepare some snacks for her?" At this time, Zhang Han felt the benefits of Xian's strict discipline. Xian didn't give Meng too many snacks, so Meng didn't eat enough at ordinary times. Occasionally, when there was something, snacking was a great way to lure Meng. As expected, Meng looked a little better. She quickly glanced at Zhang Wangyu, feinted ignorance, and said, "No, Grandpa and I don't have any secrets. If Mama found out about this, she would not be able to eat so much." Meng was still a little reluctant and unhappy. After she was coaxed by a group of people, her mood was more complicated. "Dad, did you prepare a lot of snacks for Meng?" Xian suddenly asked, diverting Meng's attention. "Really, Meng, this is not our little secret, is it?" "Well, no. Meng quickly waved her hand and said, "Mama, I don't have a lot of snacks." "Oh my." Xian suddenly sighed and said, Meng, tell me, I took you to see your dad, but we haven't seen each other for a few days. You don't want to see him. Now I want to go out with your dad for 2 days, but you refuse. Do you not love me?" With good acting skills, Xian appeared confused. "No, it's not like that." Meng said a little anxiously, "I just want to go out with Papa. I love Mama very much." Ha ha ha. Hearing her words, Zhang Han laughed. Meng, this time your mom and I are busy with work and will be back in 2 days. Your grandpa specially prepared a lot of snacks for you. What's the point of talking about snacks? When it came to this, Meng didn't say a word. It was not easy to not limit the number of snacks she could eat, but they always mentioned that. Humphrey. After breakfast, on the way to the kindergarten, Meng reminded her parents several times. "Papa, Mama, you must come back soon. I know, after school, we'll have a video chat tonight. The mother and daughter chatted all the way. After sending Meng off, the two of them went straight to the company. Shen Chengqing, Zif, and 3 representatives, including the director, as well as Muxiu, plus Zhang Han and Xian. There were a total of 8 people. "Let's go," Zif said angrily. "After more than a year, we go back to North America again. We're going to win the award this time." Her words made everyone laugh. Win the award? The probability is a little low. However, the imposing manner made the director and several other people tremble with excitement, and their faces turned red. That was Oscar. The world's greatest honor. He didn't expect that he would really win the Oscar one day. Although he still hadn't won the award, the nomination was enough to satisfy his vanity. At first, he was a subordinate of Hong Kitao, but now, he was the director of Purple Moon Entertainment Company. When he first came here, he still thought that his future was uncertain. How many years would it take for a company that had just been established to rise up? Although he was a little disappointed, he worked hard, so he didn't expect the movie to be filmed that way. He felt that as a director, he didn't do anything but directly became famous. In the director's circle, his status rose sharply and he was on an equal footing with the top director. How long had it been? 1 year. We got the nomination because of the boss and lady boss. I'll never forget your kindness. Before getting on the plane, the director hesitated for a moment and then spoke out his thoughts. You're welcome. Xian smiled and said, it's also the result of your hard work, director. After a brief chat, they got on the plane. In less than 10 minutes, the plane slowly took off. The destination this time was North American Hollywood. It was only 8 o'clock, and the flight time was 18 hours. Fortunately, it was a private plane, or Xian and the others would be tired. After flying for 11 hours, at 7 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Han and Xian made a video call to Meng. When the video was connected, there was some potato chip residue on the corner of Meng's mouth. Papa, Mama, I'm teaching Grandpa English. Really, Meng, there's something on the corner of your mouth. Did you eat potato chips secretly? Huh? Looking at Meng's adorable expression, Zhang Han and Xian burst into laughter at the same time. The video call lasted for 2 hours. Zhang Wangyu urged Meng to go to bed, or she could not get up tomorrow morning, so the video call ended. After hanging up, Xian also slept for a while she was sleeping. 7 hours passed by, and the plane landed at the Los Angeles airport. Hello, Miss Z. I'm Smith. You are really too beautiful. You look more beautiful than you do on the screen. Welcome. I will take you to the place where you live. A man in a suit with blonde hair reached out his right hand with a smile. He also spoke the language of Hua Nation. He used Oriental greetings, that was, shaking hands. Their way of reception was a cheek-to-cheek embrace. Looking at Xian's beautiful face, he didn't take action even though he wanted to do so because he felt a little stressed, due to the men around her. Thank you. Xian smiled slightly. After getting into the limo with the man, the car drove all the way to Hollywood. This is... The man in a suit glanced at Zhang Han with a strange look in his eyes. Xian was holding his arm intimately. My husband Zhang Han. Hello, Mr. Zhang, I've heard a lot about you. I really can't tell that Mr. Zhang was playing Captain Jake. Oh no, playing Captain Jake and Will Turner at the same time. In my opinion, this is a miracle. The makeup technology is excellent. I think this Oscar Makeup Award is definitely going to be yours. At the same time, you are also a strong competitor for the Best Leading Actor and Actress. You're very good. The man in a suit marveled. Seeing Zhang Han's appearance, he could not believe that the change would be so big on the screen. Captain Jake, who is full of magic, is actually so quiet in real life. Is he a bit introverted? Is he not good at communication and chatting? Seeing Zhang Han just smile and gently nod his head, the man in a suit was a little suspicious. What he didn't know was that his words made the makeup artist next to the director blush. I'm so ashamed. The makeup had nothing to do with me, it was all made by him. I was just an assistant, applying cosmetics for small-time actors, yet am I going to win the Oscar award? She felt that it was simply a stroke of luck. Chapter 839, We Were Robbed. Seeing that Zhang Han was in no mood to speak, the man in a suit looked at Xian and said with a smile, Mrs. Z, have you been to Los Angeles? I've been here once. It's beautiful here. Yeah, Los Angeles is beautiful. The man in a suit said, it's the second largest city in North America, known as the City of Angels. There are many good places to visit. If Mrs. Z and Mr. Zhang are interested, I can show you the way. Mr. Smith, thank you for your kindness. But we don't plan to play for the time being. Let's go back to have a rest. We'll be going back after finishing attending the Oscar tomorrow, Zhan replied. Oh, that's a pity, you're in a hurry. The Oscar will start at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and the party will end at 6 o'clock in the evening. I suggest Mrs. Z should have a good rest and leave the next day, said the man in a suit. I'll consider it, thank you, Zhan replied perfunctorily and then stopped talking. After 8 o'clock in the evening, it was really a little hasty to take a plane back from the airport. They were arranged in Loews Hollywood Hotel, starting from the 10th floor. Rooms of the 10 floors above were arranged for these international stars. The elevator they took was also a special elevator on the side. On the 15th floor, Zhang Han and Zhan were in the same room. Zf, Chen Chengqing, and Mugs were in the same room. The director and the others shared 2 rooms. They were all in luxurious suites. As soon as they entered the suite and put their luggage in place, Zhan couldn't wait to ask, "Dear, are you sleepy?" Huh? Hearing what she said, Zhang Han could not help laughing. Obviously, Zhan wanted to go out to play with him. In this case, if he said he was sleepy, then he would end up sleeping on the sofa tonight. The key was that he had never been sleepy before. No, I'm not, Zhang Han answered straightforwardly. Wanna go out to play? Of course. Zhan smiled, stood on tiptoe, and kissed Zhang Han on the lips. Then she said with a smile, "We don't have much private time. We just slept on the road for a long time. Now we're not sleepy. It's only 8:30 p.m. Why don't we go shopping?" Sounds good. Zhang Han laughed and said, "Let's go. Let's go." Zhan responded sweetly, "Then, I have to change my clothes first." Zhan took out a set of clothes from her suitcase, including a t-shirt, a thin coat, a pair of jeans, a pair of sneakers, and a light pink cap. After putting on their clothes, the 2 of them sneaked out of the room. However, as soon as they walked to the elevator, they saw Zif and Chen Chengqing stealthily waiting for the elevator. Oh, what a coincidence, elder sister Yan. Zif was stunned at first, then she chuckled with her hand covering her mouth. Why are you in such a hurry to go out to play? We're not as fast as you two, Zhan joked. Don't you two stay in the room? How can you still have the mood to go out to play? We'll be back soon. Chen Chengqing grinned. He and Zif made a breakthrough at the last step. He had planned to hold a wedding if Zif was pregnant. However, he found that she hadn't been pregnant even if they did more than once a month. He was a little suspicious if it was because of his king dragon blood, so he asked Zhang Han on purpose. It was really because of this. The success rate would be higher if his blood was stimulated to at least 80%. This made Chen Chengqing repeatedly sigh with emotion. It was a miracle that Brother Han succeeded the first time. During this period, he also proposed that he wanted to hold a wedding with Zif, but Zif was in no hurry. Ding! When they talked, the elevator arrived. After getting into it, Zif asked, "Elder sister Yan, brother-in-law, do you want to play together with us? We intend to go to Sunset Boulevard first, and then to Hollywood Street." Zhan hesitated for 2 seconds before she shook her head and said, "Forget it, my husband and I want to enjoy the 2 of us." Chengqing and I also want to enjoy the 2 of us, Zif retorted. Zhan planned to start playing from Hollywood Street. She planned to hang around Sunset Boulevard, and then go to the open-air bar to play for a while. This was her schedule for tonight. She and Zif had the same thoughts, but after they went downstairs, they went on their separate ways. Zif and Chen Chengqing didn't even take the cars arranged by the organizer but went out to take a taxi. Zhang Han and Zhan got into an MPV and headed for Hollywood Street. They arrived at the place at 9 o'clock p.m., so there were not many people on the street, but Zhan was also enjoying the shopping. She was very happy to take Zhang Han by the hand and enjoy leisure time. It was already more than 11 o'clock in the evening after strolling here and Sunset Boulevard. "Darling, let's go to the Lanmu site bar." "Okay. I want to drink with you." "Ah?" Zhang Han was stunned at once. How could Zhan have so much courage to drink with him? A man at the Heaven Peak stage was basically free from being drunk. Of course, after drinking a little wine, what would happen when they went back tonight? Zhang Han laughed at once. Okay, let's have a drink later. Seeing Zhang Han's smile, Xian knew what he was thinking, so she couldn't help but spit. They got on the MPV and went to the Lanmu site bar. Today, it held an open-air activity. There was a hubbub of voices inside, and heavy metal music could be heard from far away. On the audience stands on the two sides, there were comfortable seats. On the lower side, there were long rows of chairs. At the bottom, there was a dancing floor. There were many people crazily swinging with DJ and lights, releasing the wild in their hearts. The clothes of the people in the bar were a bit more open. One was sexier than the other. It was quite rare to see someone dress up like Xian. Darling, I'm particularly happy with you. Cheers for our love. Xian seemed to be more active. She raised her glass and drank with Zhang Han. Honey, don't drink so fast. It won't take long for you to get drunk. I won't, I'm good at drinking. The two of them chatted and drank. In a short while, Xian's face began to turn red. The imported wine was still a little intoxicating and had a strong after effect. After drinking for more than half an hour, they went to the dance floor to play for a while. If they played normally, it would be a little crowded, but Zhang Han was there. There was a small area next to the two of them, so they had a good time. However, the others on the dancing floor kept looking askance at them, with surprise and doubt in their eyes. Finally, after playing for a while, Xian was a little drunk. This place is not far from the hotel where we live. Why don't we stroll back? Xian leaned on Zhang Han's shoulder and said, all right. Zhang Han held Xian's waist, gently lifted her body, and ran along the street. On the way, they chatted and laughed. Xian, who was drunk, was very relaxed and even laughed out loud twice. Despite that, she was still very charming and had a different kind of charm. As they walked forward, they found that on both sides of the dark street, there were a few people, who were watching them from time to time. Although they went out in a low profile, Xian's bag and their clothes were both expensive branded goods. Gradually, there were 8 people around the two of them. 4 of them were watching in the distance, 2 of them were slowly approaching, and the other 2 were a little farther from the left and right sides. Oh, do I come across robbers? Zhang Han also heard that it was more chaotic here, especially at night. After all, everybody could have a gun. There were still so many wandering men and only a small number of wealthy people. Money, 2 tall and strong people, one on the left and one on the right, suddenly followed. They stood in front of Zhang Han and stretched out their hands. What money? Xian was a little dizzy. She was not afraid. After looking at them for a while, she suddenly laughed. Honey, they are asking for money. Yeah, so will we give them money or not? It depends on your mood. Seeing the couple display affection in front of them, the hearts of the 2 single men were bleeding. However, it seemed that they were rich. It was enough for them to go out and enjoy themselves at night if their plan succeeded. Money. The eyes of the 2 men were cold, but their expressions could show that they were fierce in appearance but cowardly in fact. Ho ho. Zhang Han was not angry at this moment. He felt that it was quite interesting to be robbed. Money? Yes, I have. Zhang Han chuckled and opened Xian's bag. He reached inside with his right hand and took out a small stack of money. At a cursory glance, it was about $3,000. Hiss. The eyes of the 2 people turned bright, and they were a little excited. This time, they would reap fabulous profits. Whoosh. As one of them grabbed the money, they turned around and ran away quickly. The other 6 people who were standing around also stopped. Zhang Han could feel that they gathered together and muttered something with an excited expression as if they were discussing something. However, Zhang Han ignored them and continued to walk forward by holding Xian in his arms. Less than 5 minutes later, the group of people approached secretly. It was the other 2 people's turn this time. Money. Ah, honey, we meet some people who want money again. What should we do? I'm so scared. Zhang was acting cute this time. Zhang Han was obsessed with her behavior. Yes, money. He threw out a small stack of money, about $5,000, which was more than what he gave just now. Whoosh. The two of them ran away again. However, they, who were greedy, had their eyes on Zhang's bag. How much money was there? FCK, he's a rich man. Ha ha ha, honey. Did we get robbed? Zhang's breath was as fragrant as the smell of orchids. She leaned on Zhang Han, as if she had just realized that she had been robbed. The woman was too drunk. Zhang Han had already given out tens of thousands of dollars. He was amused but enjoyable. He felt that Zhang was so cute. Why haven't they come yet? After another 5 minutes, those people hadn't followed him yet. Zhang Han was still waiting to see Zhang's expression. As expected, after hesitating for a moment, they still had covetous thoughts, and then they caught up with them again. Money. Another two people came over to ask for money. Zhang Han pretended not to know about it and turned to look at Zhang. They're asking for money again. Honey, we're going to be robbed again. Do we need to call the police? The man seemed to understand a little. His face became serious, and he took a step back. Yes, we were robbed. Zhang Han nodded solemnly. Huh. Honey, why don't you give them money? They all have guns in their hands. Oh, then give them money quickly. Zhang Han looked at Zhang and smiled. He put his right hand into the bag again and took out a thicker stack. $10,000. Chapter 840, Magic? Hiss. The two men picked up the money and ran away in an instant. This time, after they went back, they muttered to each other. Fouquet, there is so much money, could the two of them be people with high status? If that's the case, it would be difficult to say. What would happen after we snatched their money? For a moment, the leader was a little scared. Shall we continue? Several greedy subordinates of his began to try to persuade him. They are just two foreigners, what's there to be afraid of? Since we have started, let's carry it through and grab that woman's bag. They looked at Zhang's bag and were ready to take action. At this time, Zhang and Zhang Han were still joking with each other. Ha ha ha, honey, as the famous Zhang Han Yang, you have actually been robbed a lot of money here today. Ha ha. Zhang Han smiled and brushed her nose with his finger before saying, it's all because of you? The charming elf. Eh, what does it have to do with me? Because you are so beautiful and you attracted their attention, they came over and decided to rob us, Zhang Han answered seriously. Zhang, who was drunk, couldn't respond to Zhang Han's teasing at all. She giggled before replying, so is it really because I'm beautiful? Of course. Because I'm very beautiful? You're very beautiful. While the two of them were talking, the robbers also made up their minds. They decided to stop robbing. Zhang and Zhang Han were so rich and dressed luxuriously, and they were heading to the hotel for rich people. As a result, the robbers felt that they should stop. Their leader allowed them to go to have fun. However, when they were about to leave, a young Oriental man went over and whispered to them. Not far behind him stood four other Oriental men, who seemed to be in their 20s. No one knew what that Oriental man with a flat-top haircut had said or handed to the leader of the robbers, who then nodded and ran to Zhang Han with his men. Money. A loud, clear voice rang, and the man, along with his 7 brothers, surrounded Zhang Han and Zhang. Why are there so many people? Zhang was slightly stunned and shook her head. Maybe because they think we're rich? Zhang Han said indifferently. Money. The leader of the robber repeated fiercely. He put his right hand into his pocket and gently pushed it out, revealing half of a gun. What are you doing here? At this moment, a voice sounded from behind, and the man with a flat-top haircut quickly ran over with the other 4 people. Bang, 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 bang. These men seemed to know some martial arts. They quickly knocked down the 8 robbers. You evil scoundrels, get out of my way. The man with a flat-top haircut said coldly. Go, hurry up. The leader of the robbers screamed and ran to a corner 50 meters away behind the place in a panic. Then he stopped, covered his chest with his hands, and started cursing. "Damn it, I can't believe these bastards actually beat us." At this time, the man next to him said, "It's about $10,000, it's worth it. Hee hee, I'm wondering what these guys are going to do. Are they planning to play some special games? That rich couple is going to be in trouble this time." They looked at the front while talking. "Honey, they're so powerful, they scared the bad guys away." Xian snuggled to Zhang Han and whispered. However, among the 5 people in front of them, the man with a flat-top haircut was at the peak strength stage, while the other 4 were at the inward strength stage and knew some martial arts, so they could also hear Xian's voice clearly. Upon hearing this, the man with a flat-top haircut smiled gently. "You're from the Huan nation, aren't you?" "We're from there, too. It must be destiny that brought us together on a foreign land." At this time, Xian stopped talking and leaned on Zhang Han's shoulder. Zhang Han did not speak either, just looking at them calmly. The man with a flat-top haircut had a strange feeling in his heart. What did that mean? "I saved you, but you didn't even thank me? Hee hee, no wonder the master is going to deal with you. You didn't even know to behave politely, you deserve to be targeted. It's not safe to go out at night here, you should stay where you live and come out to have fun during the day." The man with a flat-top haircut sighed softly and continued. "But you can rest assured that we will not leave you alone since you have met us. Where do you live? We'll escort you back first." "We live in the Loe's Hotel," Zhang Han replied flatly. "Really? What a coincidence, we also live there. Ha ha, we can go back together. I didn't expect such a coincidence today." The man with a flat-top haircut laughed and looked at his men, giving a hint. These men immediately got the hint and chimed in. "That's quite a coincidence. Are the 2 of you here for a trip? We are also on a trip. Just as Brother Long said, fate has brought us together, so why don't we go out to play together? How about we go back to the hotel and have a drink?" Zhang Han ignored them and looked at Xian with a smile. "Babe, look at them, don't they look like fools?" "Yes." Xian agreed with Zhang Han. She was a little dizzy, so she just responded obediently. The man with a flat-top haircut and his companions were stunned and then furious. Just as he was about to say something, Zhang Han turned around and held Xian in his arms, heading to the hotel. "Go after them." The man with a flat-top haircut signaled his companions to follow behind Zhang Han and Xian. Thump. At this time, these men saw that the man in front of them looked sideways and snapped his fingers casually. What is he doing? He is the person that is a fool, isn't he? This thought came up in their mind. All of a sudden. Huh? Why do I feel a little hot? These men felt like their feet were soaking in hot water. They felt that it was a little strange, so they looked down. As they did so, they were stunned. No. They wanted to shout out, but they couldn't even open their mouth. What's going on? The 8 robbers hidden in the corner behind all looked at them in confusion. Big brother, it seems their feet are on fire. Puff. FCK, what did I just see? These people saw with a horrified look in their eyes that the 5 men not far away were on fire and then disappeared. As if it was magic, the fire appeared and then quickly disappeared with the 5 men. Now they could only see 2 figures walk forward slowly. Big brother, are they dead? Do my eyes deceive me? Was it the couple that killed those men? What the hell is going on? These people were scared, and their eyes were full of confusion. What the hell is going? I don't understand. Did these guys really get killed? If they didn't, how did they disappear? They couldn't understand it at all. Zhang Han didn't go hard with these robbers, and in order to see Xian's adorable expression, he even hoped that these guys could continue their robbery and become the spice of their life. However, it was obvious to Zhang Han that those Oriental martial artists harbored evil intentions, though they didn't speak it out. Zhang Han guessed that it might be Edmund behind all this, for they had no other enemies there except for him. However, no matter who it was, since they dared to come at him, Zhang Han would let them pay the price. The price they had paid was obvious, their lives. Zhang Han didn't even give them the chance to regret. In fact, Zhang Han sometimes was wrong. In a rented house nearby, a stern man was sitting inside. His face was rugged, which looked a little scary, and he was leaning backward lazily. If Zhang Han were here, he would be able to recognize the man as Scorpion. Few of Zhang Han's enemies survived, and he was one of them. Thump, thump, thump. Several knocks on the door sounded. Scorpion casually picked up the handkerchief on the tea table, and held it between his middle finger and index finger of his right hand. In an instant, the soft handkerchief seemed to become as sharp as a blade. It thrust into the door above the door handle like a stream of light as Scorpion threw it out. Then the handkerchief seemed to have become soft again. It drifted on the floor, and the door was opened. Peak strength warrior. It was a white man with brown hair outside the door, and he seemed to know what was going on inside the door. Scorpion, how is the task that Big Brother gave to you going? I've sent someone there to do it. Scorpion sneered and continued, Liu Zhen, since I have found them, I will take action even without Big Brother's order. That man injured me back then, and I have wanted to get back at him for a long time. I can't wait to skin him, pull out his tendons, and drink his blood. At the end of his words, Scorpion's face twisted. When Liu Zhen saw this, his heart skipped a beat. Lunatic, he is a complete lunatic. Liu Zhen, a peak strength warrior, used to be his big brother's right-hand man. However, after this big brother met Scorpion, he wanted to train him. Liu Zhen remembered that his big brother once said that Scorpion would help the gang a lot because he was ruthless and malicious enough. He could deter other gangs. Thus, the big brother cured Scorpion and trained him. His plan worked out well. Every force in those streets got to know that there was a ruthless person on his side. Scorpion made his debut in the underworld 6 months ago, and until now, he had killed 30 people. It was said that Scorpion liked to torture a person to death. As a result, no one wanted to provoke him. A lunatic would be even more terrifying than the big brother of a gang. As a result, Scorpion had made great progress in the gang, and now he and Liu Zhen had become the right-hand men of their big brother. They were teammates yet competitors. Scorpion, don't kill them for the time being, they are still useful, so big brother asked me to keep an eye on you. Liu Zhen sat down, opposite Scorpion. Ho ho. Scorpion sneered before replying, I know it's all because that girl named Xian is pretty. Don't worry, I won't lay a finger on her, but I'm going to slice Mr. Zhang into pieces. It's up to you. Liu Zhen sighed softly in secret. He was afraid that Zhang Han would die miserably that night. That was what he was thinking. However, the reality was greatly different from his imagination. Zhang Han, who Liu Zhen thought was going to die miserably, arrived at the hotel room at this moment. Xian, who was drunk, wrapped herself around Zhang Han like a snake and brought her sexy red lips to his. They kissed passionately as they walked into the bedroom. From the door to the bed, they took off their clothes and threw them out of the bed. Coats, underwear. Soon, Xian's enchanting voice sounded in the room. Why haven't they come back yet? Scorpion didn't hear any news from his men after waiting for a long time. He couldn't help but call them. The subscriber's telephone is not switched on. Huh? Did they lock the couple up secretly after seeing the girl is so pretty? Scorpion's face darkened. Judging by the nature of those guys, this was probably the case.